Hello my friends and welcome. Before we're gonna go to the military map review, let me tell you about the news about the artillery shells which Czech Republic found for Ukraine. We're speaking about 800,000 artillery shells. What is interesting that the Wall Street Journal publishes the article about those. They say that artillery shells will be supplied to Ukraine from the Russian allied countries. Well, obviously it wouldn't be Iran or North Korea, but those could be neutral or friendly countries to Russia, for example Thailand or India. The bad thing over here that the Wall Street Journal publishes this information openly, showing Russian officials that they need to do something with it. Yeah, obviously Russian spies already knew about the case, about the Czech Republic deal, because this information was spread long time before, but still Wall Street Journal creates this informational noise. We don't need it. We need to stay calm about the stuff. Nevertheless, this article was published, it's everywhere and we may talk about it. Wall Street Journal, please do not do this stuff any longer. The mainstream media always want to chase some of the sensation. At the same time, those actions could hurt, for example, Ukraine in this case. Nevertheless, I think that the deal was already agreed and nothing would stop the supplyment of artillery shells to Ukrainian army. As article says, the first 300,000 artillery shells has already been granted and secured by the deal. Yeah, sorry my friends, I just read the article once again. They say about not the allies of Russia, but partner countries of Russia. It's kind of the wide word to say, isn't it? In a way, Russia and the United States are partners at some very specific areas, like for example cosmos. But they are not partners in general, so it's kind of the word play in this case. Alright, now let's go to the front lines update. I'll change right away to the satellite image because there you can see all of the streets, for example, of Robotyne. In this area nothing changed today. The fight for now is right in the village. Russia tries to occupy it, but Ukraine fights back. However, Russia proceeded with their attack vector in this sector. From Verbova direction, let's zoom into the place and let's check out the timeline. So it was yesterday. Over here you can see the advancement of the Russian army. They've took this cross tree line, so again yesterday and today, and also the part of this tree line as well. All of the tree lines are basically the defense lines for infantry, and you see many of those in this place. I wonder if Ukraine still keeps the forces in this place because it could be quite risky. I believe they already moved out, but on this military map it shows that the fighting there continues. If we check out the 3D military map, just want to show you the terrain and the place. So this is the Russian main assault vector from Verbova village, and if we go in you may see that Ukraine takes the lower ground in the sector. It creates the vulnerability of Ukrainian army in the sector, and Russia controls the higher ground, for example over here. So in general it's really hard to defend this lower ground. Here is upper ground a little and here too. About Robotyne, the 3D map shows that Russians entered this village and already occupied some of the streets. In the deep state military map the situation is different. Robotyne is still in the gray area, the southern part of the village. On the military map of the Institute for the Study of War, we may see that Russia definitely occupied the part of Robotyne. So this time their attack was more successful compared to the previous two of the cases, and their forces were totally demolished in the place. Unfortunately, all of the Robotyne will be occupied probably at the end of this month or maybe the next month. The last time Micro 73 published the information about situation in Robotyne and in general in this area, it was 2 days ago, and the situation was like that. Russian convoy was ambushed or Russian attack forces, whatever, and the fight was happening in Robotyne. It was still in the gray zone. Deep State and Mykos gives the information that still Robotyne fully is in a gray area. Let's go back to the Deep State and what else changed today. Orlivka. It is the area near to Avdiivka, and yes, Russia propelled there just a little, so it was yesterday, it is today. They occupied all of those buildings on 2 of the streets. So Russia totally occupied Orlivka. It is under their control. Russian military bloggers said around 4 days ago that Russia occupied Orlivka, but no, they did it just today. And there is the big question now whether Russia would continue their assault across the river, because in this area it is very thin, and Russia also has this road for advancement. So for Ukraine, it's important to cut this road. Other than that, there are no changes from the deep state military map, but we may check the other sources. According to Michael 73, we have the confirmation that Russia indeed occupied Orlivka village. I just want to quickly check the situation in Orlivka using the 3D map. Let's zoom into the place. From what I can see, the situation is a little outdated. From 2 of the other sources, we have the information that Russia advanced already and occupied Orlivka over here. I want to see a connection with the other shore. Here, unfortunately, there are no any bridges, just a tiny little river that connects 2 of the lakes. Not a significant obstacle for the Russian army, unfortunately. What is also bad that there are 2 of the directions of the possible advancement of the Russian army across this tiny river. With the bridges, it would be much easier. You just collapse them and that's it. But here, there are no any bridges, and we have kind of the reliable connection, I would say. But the good thing that there is a high terrain on the next shore, so Ukraine might put some of the artillery or other weaponry, and our guys see Russian forces on this part. So I think that Russia will try to assault, but only after they expand the bridgehead, reaching the river in all of the points. So Ukraine should be ready for that and concentrate the artillery fire or other fire in this very narrow spot. We also have this military map from the military analytic Michael 73. The heavy fight is ongoing near to the Russian border on the Russian territory. We're speaking about Belgorod Oblast of the Russian Federation, so here we have a heavy fight, aviation bombs, artillery fire from both of the sides, and we have the confirmation that the opposition force advanced towards the local village of Gorky. We also see that Russia is using aviation bombs to target Ukrainian territory. Ukraine helps the Russian volunteers to perform the landing operation using helicopters. As I said to you yesterday, Ukraine lost one of the attack helicopter Mi-24, but the Mi-8 landing helicopters are okay and they continue to perform their operations. The French El Paris says that there are many of the NATO soldiers, specialists, who help Ukraine to handle the Western-made weaponry like Storm Shadow cruise missiles, Scalp missiles, or any sort of other equipment. They are not taking part in actual fighting, but mostly maintain the critical equipment. Why do we have this information in open sources? I'm out of clue. It just gives more point for Russia for any sort of the speculations and rising the stakes. We should keep this information secret, but somehow it went to the media. However, there are no proofs of that information, no actual evidence, let's say. Usually they rely on anonymous sources in some sort of the military command of the NATO country, whatever. The largest NATO base will be built in Romania. The construction will begin this year. The cost of it would be 2.5 billion euros. Kind of expensive project, but obviously NATO needs more bases near to the Russian border, and Romania is not that far from Russia. The base will be able to accommodate around 10,000 soldiers. Russia has modernized their golf cars presented to Russia by China. They put some of the anti-drone meshes and also put the artificial smoke generators. Well, actually, if you circle with that smoke, drone would not be able to find you through the camera. I mean, drone operator. So it could be partially effective, but just for a limited period of time. A Republican Senator Lindsey Graham visits Kyiv today. Before, he was a great supporter of Ukraine, but now just follows the MAGA ideology and blocks the military support of Ukraine. At the same time, he calls to mobilize all of the Ukrainian men, doesn't matter on their age, whether they are younger or older than 25. He says that Ukraine needs servicemen. Well, I would say that Ukraine needs weaponry more than the servicemen. Mr. Graham, the more weaponry you give to Ukraine, the less people required to compensate that weaponry, so less people would die. So the longer you hesitate to give Ukraine the weaponry, the further Ukraine will struggle with it. For now, Ukraine has enough servicemen in its army to defend the front lines, but not enough weaponry. In Ukraine, if you are younger than 27, it's not obligatory for you to be conscripted to Ukrainian army. Why was it done? Because it's not a secret that we have heavy losses. Yes, Russia has many more losses, but Ukraine also has losses. Many guys got wounded too. So to support Ukrainian population in general, we need people, we need men as well. That's why we have this limit. At least for now. If the situation would deteriorate even more, obviously Ukraine would hire new soldiers from the lower age group. But we need our economy to work, to operate, and we need the young generation basically for the country to live. Otherwise, we would not have enough men to reproduce our society. Even now, to replace all of the losses, each family should have at least 3 of the kids, which is not possible in the current situation. So this guy calls Ukraine to start mid-wave tactics as Russia does. There will be many more losses and no future for Ukrainian population. How can we handle it with a modern-day weaponry that require less people to operate, which is much safer for the crew? For example, Bradleys are much safer as well as the Western-made tanks. We need to concentrate on that because after all there will be no people left to defend. Plus the most important thing are the long-range missiles, like for example Taurus, which Germany also hesitates to give to Ukraine. Without cutting the Russian supply lines, they will go again and again. Western politicians speak too much, not being in the skin of a Ukrainian soldier, who now needs to replace the absence of the Western-made weaponry with his own life. This news was reposted on Telegram, so I read some of the comments of Ukrainians under it, and I think I may share the collective opinion towards Lindsey Graham. Fuck off from Ukrainian men and give us more artillery shells. Thank you. I wouldn't say like that if he supports the military deal for Ukraine, but he doesn't. Xi Jinping is going to visit France early May. They will discuss the world trade, but also the war in Ukraine. As you probably know, there are some of the negotiations planned in the neutral country of Switzerland. China also got the invitation for those, but China, as rumors say, wouldn't even visit a meeting if Russia is not presented over there. But Ukraine doesn't want Russia to be presented at this stage at least, so probably China will be absent there as well. The first time we started to hear about that peace meeting was after Davos Forum in Switzerland last year, where China was presented. China, I think, might influence Russia, but it doesn't want to. For them, it's totally okay that Russia bogged down in Ukraine with their army. Moreover, Western countries concentrate their attention to help Ukraine, not to Taiwan at this stage. So maybe China waits for the certain time to try their special military operation in Taiwan. Who knows? We're gonna see it in a nearby future. Meanwhile, Russia has already obtained 7,000 containers from North Korea full of artillery shells. It's around 3 million artillery shells, much more than Ukraine gets for its army, and it is from the North Korea alone. Russia also produces lots of the artillery shells on its own, plus Iran supply those, so it's crazy of how many shells Russia has, and Ukraine, supported by democratic states, stay without the shells. Well, we have some, but it's really hard to get. Czech Republic, thank you so much for the deal, and all of the countries which participated in it. But imagine the capabilities of Czech Republic and much more powerful countries which we have in European continent and also across the ocean. I'm really surprised that this initiative comes from Czech Republic. Czech people, you're awesome. Thank you so much for this deal. You're doing great job, even better compared to our other more powerful allies. But why don't they do it? Why Czech president is searching for some sort of the opportunities alone and just asking other countries to participate in the deal? Please, other countries, help us. We need to purchase those shells. They are over there. Just give us the money. Maybe, yeah, okay, let's do it. I know that our allies continue to help Ukraine, but the support dropped quite a lot this year. Guys, without the proper support, Ukraine is never gonna win. The war is about resources, and it seems like North Korea alone has more resources to share compared to all of the Western world. Crazy. Ukraine still has many of the Stugna P anti-tank missiles. This system is made in Ukraine, it's very effective. It may target the enemy vehicles for more than 5 km of the range. So here is kaboom of the Russian tank. And you know, lately I see many of the videos published of the operation of the system. Probably Ukraine started to produce more of those. By the way, my friends, more of the videos from the front lines you may check out on my Telegram channel, and you may find it in the video description just below. Meanwhile, Putin celebrates the 10th anniversary of the annexation of Ukrainian Crimea. Yes, it happened 10 years ago, so they have the celebration at the same time that Belgrade is bombed. Again, if you check the Russian chat, sorry guys, it's all in Russian, but they all call about Belgrade. The situation is Belgrade is terrible. Why no one says about Belgrade, and so on. Moscow celebrates, but we are sitting in a basement. How can it be? In general, everything outside Moscow is not that really important for the Russian regime. They just want to keep power, and that is why they want Russia to expand. That's their only goal. But what happened to those territories or with the Russian territory of Belgrade doesn't really matter for them. If you suffer there, it's your business. By the way, all of the dummy candidates for the presidential elections were presented on that celebration meeting, including Mr. Davydov. Russian opposition called to vote for this guy. The Russian political opposition is just nonsense. Recently, they openly say that they are against the revolution in Russia. How can you get rid of Putin now? Peaceful protests, those do not work. As for me, the function of the Russian opposition is to suppress the revolution mood of the Russian society. Yes, they act in favor of Putin. It's my own personal opinion. I listen a lot to Maxim Katz. He's the Russian opposition leader nowadays. Yeah, not the same level as Navalny, but still he's very popular among the Russian opposition. And after I watched his video where he says that we shouldn't remove Putin by force, I understood that they don't really want to remove Putin. Before he said that their strategy is to wait for the Russian regime to change. Wait to change. The only thing you can wait for is the end of your life. That's it. To change something you need to be proactive. Call for action, not for silence. But they call to vote for this guy, to take part in the Russian elections, to make them legal in a way. As for me, it is the most stupid thing that could be potentially done. Well, actually, I believe in Russian opposition, but not in the political one. I believe in those guys who fight against the Russian forces, actively. Those are really good Russian guys who might bring some change in Russia. Just look, people in Belgrade now think whether they're really part of Russia, because Russian leaders do not put attention on them. What is interesting here is the angle of the camera from the bottom above. And here Putin is further compared to other people. Everything is done to show that he's not a midget. Those fake candidates had the meeting with Putin today. It was funny to watch this video. They all praise Putin, that we agree that mostly people support you, our leader. And Davydov, as opposition said, was against the war, says that Russia should win the war against Ukraine. Well, probably he changed his mind, but I don't think so. Even Putin himself thanked opposition for calling people to come and vote. There are so many analytics nowadays, and one of them, Michael Clark, who works for probably a Rusi analytic agency, says that if Ukraine can survive this year, pendulum could shift against Russia. Well, it all depends on military support of Ukraine. In general, Ukraine will survive, but at what territory? It all depends on our allies. My friends, now don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And if you want to support my job, you may check out some of the links in the video description just below. Thank you so much for your kind support. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.